Hello, hello, Tom 3PO here, and welcome. Tonight is a very special night because I am making, for the first time ever, my very own tier list. And I decided to make this one about the Halloween franchise. So give me a few moments. I need to set this up here. And it's been a while since I've made a video, so I might be a little rusty. Where'd I see it at? Right there. Boom, boom, boom. But I hope everyone is doing well. It's been a hot minute, but I am back. And I imagine I will do another tier about the Friday the 13th films, maybe even Child's Play, who knows. But Halloween definitely plays a very important role in my memories. It was one of the very first horror movies that I've ever watched. And, you know, I'm almost 38. Damn. But I can't remember that far back when I was a youngster, but I do remember I rented a lot of the Halloween franchise, more than I did Friday the 13th and Child's Play. But I do remember being able to record Halloween and Halloween 2 on VHS when it was on TV, and they scared the living shit out of me, not gonna lie. So yeah, this whole row of movies here, each one I've got fond memories of, some more than others, but hey, you know, that's just how it rolls. So with that being said, I want to make a quick disclaimer. This list, this tier, this is all me. This is all my opinion. You can definitely have a different view. I might put one of your favorites in a poo-poo tier. And that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily saying that you have bad taste in movies. I'm just saying that's how I view it. And you can have totally different viewpoints than me. And I encourage that if you do see that I put one of your favorites in a not so flattering tier, let's talk about it in the comments section. I definitely want to know why you might like a movie that I don't, and vice versa. And I'm going to do my best to go through each one of these and explain why I feel the way I do about them. But I just wanted to make that clear. This is just my opinion. I'm not an elitist. I'm not a Halloween aficionado, although I am reading Taking Shape, and I also have Taking Shape 2 that I need to read after that. But I have been finding out a lot that I never knew about the Halloween franchise. A lot of it has to do with like the behind the scenes politics and studio shenanigans. But yeah, it's definitely a good read. And if you are a horror movie fan, whether it's entry-level fan or hardcore diehard fan, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's very interesting to see what's been going on with all of these movies for one of the longest running franchises in the horror genre. So let's go ahead and get the tiers made up. I've thought about this for so long. I don't know what I would call them, but definitely S tier. Oh my gosh, why would you do that to me? All timer. No, yeah, all timer. That there we go. I think this is probably going to be easier to do the top and the bottom. Man, get the freak out of here. Yeah, that sounds like a good one. Yeah. Middle, let's go with something a little bit more festive. Fun. Well, no. At least. Oh, did I really spell it? At least they tried. We'll go with that one. This one is going to be fun to rewatch. And then down here, could be worse. Let's just go with that. I have no idea what, like, I'm not that clever when it comes to stuff like this, especially since I don't really have any, you know, negative things to say about most of these movies, but there's one or maybe even two, you know what, there's a lot that I'm about to say, and forgive me if I go off on wild tangents, but I just want to explain as much detail as I can and why I rank these movies the way that I do. And I thought about going in order, so I think we're going to start with 1978 Halloween. So before I do that, though, I just want to make sure that I have this opportunity to thank you guys for coming and watching. And I don't know if you're watching this in the far future or if you're just watching this as soon as it's uploaded, but I really do appreciate you taking your time to watch this. And with something that I'm very passionate about, which is horror movies, as opposed to video games, I really do want to take this opportunity to tell you that I'm glad you're here. And hopefully we'll have some fun along the way. So 1978 Halloween, as far back as I can remember, I still to this day cannot watch this movie by myself at home in the dark at night or during the day. It doesn't matter. This movie. Oh, and by the way, another disclaimer, spoilers. If you haven't seen any of these right here, you're like, 15, 20 years too late and more. But if you haven't seen these, or even any of the Rob Zombies, there are spoilers. I still encourage you to watch them if you haven't, because they're all really good, except for a couple. But I would never tell you not to watch something. Watch it for yourself. See if you like it. And just because I might place a movie in a get the fuck out of here tier, you know what? We're going to change that, actually. Doo-doo. Yeah, straight up doo-doo. If I place one of these movies in a doo-doo tier, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm trying to say, hey, don't watch this. I'm just saying, if I had to watch it, if somebody put a gun to my head, I'd watch it, but yeah, I'm not going to enjoy it. And so with that being said, that out of the way, sorry, I'm kind of nervous because I haven't made a video in so long. And to get in the mindset of making a video with everything that's going on in my personal life, I think about it all day at work. Like, I'm so excited to make a video, and then I sit down and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't remember what to say. I feel like I'm studying for a test, and they hand me the paper, and I'm like, I don't remember anything that I studied for. So I'm going to do the best I can, and hopefully it's good enough for you guys. So Halloween, 1978. This movie, it's so simple, yet so complex. John Carpenter was writing with a gold pen on solid fucking gold paper. Now, I'm not saying that Halloween is the first or the very best, but this movie by itself holds up even to this day for me. The tone, the atmosphere, those might be the same thing. I don't care. The score alone, those two or three things, depending on what they are, yeah, they're really scary. And the story is so simple. You have babysitters babysitting on Halloween night. You couldn't ask for a better setup to a scary story. Add on top of that an escaped mental patient who, from what we gather in the beginning, likes to kill babysitters, and you've got yourself a recipe for a product that is going to stand the test of time. Now, I really enjoyed Halloween as a kid, and even if they scared me, I still loved it. And for me, Halloween is going to be all-timer, no question about it. Even, for what it's worth, it doesn't need to have, big cameos or like a star-studded cast. And I don't know too much about the cast at the time. I know that some of them came back in Halloween 3 and, later on in different cameos here and there. But when I was a little kid, I didn't know who Donald Pleasence was. I didn't know that he also played in like James Bond movies and he was an established actor, or Jamie Lee Curtis for that matter. All of these people, when I was that young, I just thought that, they were actors, but I didn't know that they played in anything else. So I wasn't sure the caliber, and that didn't even register in my little tiny brain. So to see the chemistry that all the characters had, and to feel like, this is very believable. Like these are people that I've never seen before, but they remind me of people that I could be neighbors with, and to have those things happen to them and hear that music play, whether it's, the dun, 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 or the theme, the dun, 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 or the, what's the other one? Dun, 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 they're all scary. And if I had to watch them right now by myself in the dark, in this day or night, I probably would not. I would definitely never do that intentionally. That is for sure. But that all, for me, came crashing down. I remember Halloween 2 as a kid. I thought, what's scarier than being stalked in a neighborhood by a ghost maniac? Oh, yeah, being in a hospital, but not just any hospital, a hospital that is very secluded and very delinquent with paying with their light bills, because I was always so confused that Haddonfield Memorial, because that's where Laurie was taken after the events of Halloween. The hospital was so dim lit, like there wasn't really a whole lot of lights on. Like I remember being to the hospital as a kid and, adolescence. It's a very brightly lit place. Like there's lights on all the time. Doesn't matter if you're in an accident or an emergency and you're going in there at 2:00 in the morning, or if you're in there in the afternoon. Like the 70s, I guess, were pretty wild. Well, I think this came out in the 80s, but to just have like half of a wing, no lights, no staff even too. And as a kid, I didn't really think too much into all those things, but what really got me was, man, if I was in Laurie's shoes and I was in a hospital that was dark and vacant, knowing that he's still out there, like, holy shit, I would have been freaking out of my mind. But the problem I have with this movie now is that the more I found out about the goings on behind the scenes, such as, studio politics and shenanigans, the less I like it, and the more evident it is that this movie was rushed. John Carpenter, a 6-pack of beer in less than a week, wrote the script to this because he was obligated to, even though his original intention with Deborah Hill was to make an anthology series, kind of like American Horror Story. They have all these different stories that take place on Halloween, and the first one that they just knocked out of the park was about a babysitter murderer. But I guess people loved Halloween and Michael Myers so much that they were like, hey, we need to keep striking while the iron's there, or gold, or whatever. So Halloween 2 for me, man, I'm going to put it in could be worse. Just for the fact that the story was never meant to have a sequel. And the problem is, when you start trying to explain the evil, it's a very unsuccessful attempt at giving a reason why the boogeyman that you're so scared of, no pun intended, does what he does. I've never understood that. Like, it's way more scarier to not know why he's going after whoever he's going after, because he could be going after anybody. But when you have to backtrack and say, oh yeah, that girl he tried to kill, spoiler, that's his sister, and that's why he came back, and that's why he's killing all these people. He's trying to get to her, and they're like, it all makes sense now. That's why he's the way he is, because I guess his sister. So to come back and say, this is the method behind his madness, I don't know. But back then, when I was a kid, I grew up with these movies. These were way before my time. So I was like, okay, this explains why he's after his niece. And like, wow, okay, that makes sense. But if I would have known, even as a kid, I probably wouldn't have cared or even understood it. But like the fact that Halloween was supposed to be a one-off, that just makes Halloween 2 less scary. To know that the reason wasn't really always there kind of makes it, whatever. We won't talk about that one too much, though. But Halloween 3, I will say, I hadn't seen Halloween 3 up until I have not seen, or I am good with words, I promise. The first time I watched Halloween 3 was not that long ago, like 5 or 6 years ago. And I remember being a little kid, going to the video store on the weekend, wanting to rent a scary movie. And my mom and her sisters liked watching scary movies too, because who doesn't? But I remember my mom telling me that I couldn't rent Halloween 3 because when her sister saw it, my aunt told her that it didn't have Michael Myers in it. And me and my girlfriends were so confused and we didn't like it. So because of that, that's why I couldn't rent it. But when I did watch it, I was like, hey, this isn't that bad. I don't know what all the fuss is about. Like, it was a really good movie. Going into it, decades later, knowing that it didn't have Michael Myers in it and knowing that it was his own story, I think that probably helped implement my own psyche into what I was going to expect. But I'm going to put this in fun to rewatch. Like, it is really good. And the characters aren't as memorable as like a Dr. Loomis per se or Laurie Strode, but the villain, he was recognizable from RoboCop. I forget the doctor, like the main character's name, Tom Harkin or something like that, but he was really good. I liked his sense of urgency at the end, trying to get the TV stations to stop playing the evil commercial. But for what it is, I think if this would have came out instead of Halloween 2, who knows what would have happened. If they weren't, dealing with fucking gold up here, maybe this would have been more successful, but time has yet to decide if that is the case or not. Because I know that it's got like a little bit of a cult following, and it's been referenced in the other Halloween movies later on. But you don't really hear too much talk about it, mainly because there was only, just that story. So for me, it's definitely fun to rewatch. It's not a bad movie in my opinion, but it's definitely not an all-timer. Like, there's nothing that stands out about that movie that makes me think, man, dude, I remember exactly where I was and like all these memories. It's just a fun movie to watch. Like, if I wanted to watch it while doing something else and just like glance over from time to time, it's definitely a good movie. It's up there. Halloween 4, holy shit. So after the hiatus of a Michael Myers-less movie, and then, them trying to figure out what they wanted to do with the franchise, dude, they came back. And I know I already put it up there, but it's an all-timer for me. Dude, this movie, I grew up watching this one more than any of them. And it was so scary. Not as scary as Halloween in terms of like the music and the atmosphere, but because Jamie Lloyd, played by Danielle Harris, is the new protagonist, and she is Laurie Strode's daughter. So she is Michael Myers' niece. And to be a little kid and watch a movie where a little kid is the victim and being chased by the psychopath, man, dude, that it hit harder than watching like a teenager high school babysitter be stalked. And the fact that, she was just, she hit it out of the park. Danielle Harris did a phenomenal job as Jamie Lloyd. And I remember, years and years later, seeing her in Rob Zombie's Halloween. I was like, oh shit, I know who that is. But okay, I don't want to get too far ahead with the movies here, but yeah, no. This is a really good written movie, I think. We're introduced to Dr. Loomis again, and he's got the scars, and Michael even has scarred hands, which we'll come back to later on. But, the town has been safe for 10 years, and they're trying to forget about Michael. And, he finds out that he does have a niece, a living relative. We're back to that whole story again. And then it takes a little dive because you're like, oh, this is why he's coming back, like his niece. But then you find like he's fucking ruthless, and the thought of him killing a kid, that's always been like a trope in horror movies, is like little kids don't get killed. I mean, unless you're watching like a B or a C horror movie, like Children at Play or Children of the Corn. Yeah, you're probably not going to see little kids getting stalked and killed, but the threat of that being a possibility was like, oh, I have a lot of investment in this. The stakes are just as much for me as it is for Jamie Lloyd, because I mean, I'm a kid like her. So yeah, Halloween 4, all-timer. The atmosphere, the intro, the opening, when no music, you just see like cornfields, and it does have a very unique theme to it. Like I remember even watching the part where Jamie Lloyd goes trick-or-treating and she gets separated from her friends who used to make fun of her in the beginning of the movie, and like the streets were lit a little bit, but it was like gray light, if that makes sense. It made the shadows darker, and it just looked really cool. Like it looked lit, but it was still very dark, which made like when Michael came out and you saw a shadow, it made it all the more menacing. And then this is where we get into some dicey waters, my friends, because Halloween 5, ooh. Halloween 5 is a movie that when I was younger, this was even before Halloween 6 came out, but I always wanted to know, like, what the fuck happened? And in case you're wondering, if you've never seen Halloween 5, we're introduced in this one to a gentleman by the name of the Man in Black. Unbeknownst to me when I was a young rascal, this character was written in with no purpose. No purpose. They had no idea what they were going to do with that character. They just knew, well, we need to add someone else who's mysterious, but we need to not talk about him that much or show who he is or even what his intentions are. That'll really add, because we know we kind of got a stinker of a movie, and that's exactly what they got. Halloween 5 picks up about a year after the events of Halloween 4, in which Jamie is in a psychiatric children's hospital because she tried to kill her foster mother at the end of Halloween 4, and everyone thinks that she is now the new Michael, which, you know, I never thought about it as a kid because I was rooting for Jamie so much, but like as an adult, I hear people say like, oh, that would have been so rad. You know, that would have been so cool to see like Jamie take the mantle of the boogeyman. But like as a kid, I'm like, whoa, no way. Like she's got to survive, because if she survives, I survive. If she's a killer, oh my God, who knows what I'll turn out to be. But I'm joking. I'm totally joking. But no, that probably would have been really cool. It would have been a lot better than this stinker that we got. I will say the only shining thing in Halloween 5 is not the mask, not Dr. Loomis's depraved descent into senility, but Tina. Tina's my favorite. I love Tina so much. She's a shitty friend and, you know, like a horrible role model, but like she's just... Get out of here. But I'm going to put, at least they tried. No, you know what? Could be worse. Could be worse. Because Halloween 6 is not going to go in at least they tried. You know what? At least they tried. Yeah. At least they tried. Halloween 6, though, oh my gosh. I remember when this movie, I didn't see it in theaters. I was way too young at the time. But I remember when this movie came out, and I vaguely remember seeing a commercial, and it was like Halloween 666, the origin or something like that. And I was like, dang, okay. And then when the movie came out, it was The Curse of Michael Myers. And I was like, what happened to the Halloween 666? Like, I know I've seen that. And for the longest time, I thought maybe I was just like Mandela effect, or like, you know, gaslit to believe that by my own self. But I guess maybe, you know, we'll find out. I can't say 100% that was an actual thing, but reading the Taking Shape book and then owning the producer's cut of Halloween 666, it makes more sense that that's probably what I saw. But yeah, no, Halloween 6, this is probably, in my opinion, out of the entire franchise, my favorite Michael Myers. Dude, the mask in the original, yeah, kind of scary, you know, if you're not expecting it. Dude, this mask, there's a scene in Halloween 6 where he kills a guy in a basement. And I probably won't do too many spoilers because I don't remember the names of all the characters, but he gets stabbed, impaled with a pole, and lifted up and then stuck into a fuse box. And while the sparks are flying, you get like a close-up of Michael's mask. And dude, his mask looks so menacing and terrifying. It almost looks like he's got like a slight grin to it. Oh, that scared me so much. Unfortunately, the only downside to this is it doesn't have that same scary atmosphere and score that the original did. But man, if you dubbed the score or like redid it to have this score imposed on this movie, scariest Halloween, hands down. Michael is so menacing in this one. He's a lot older, you know, and he still has the scars that were in line with Halloween 4 and 5. Stemming from the events of Halloween 2. And he looks a little bit more rounder. You know, I'm not gonna lie, he's definitely had a slower metabolism since he's aged a little bit, and his mask is the scariest for sure. And the whole Cult of Thorn angle and everything, dude, I give so much respect to Halloween 6 because the doo-doo that was placed on their feet by the people who did the Man in Black and Halloween 5, they could have easily retconned that. They didn't have to pick up and think, well, okay, the Man in Black is a thing, I guess, so what are we going to do with them? And I feel like for what was given to us, it wasn't bad. Could it have been better? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think all the time about what the Man in Black could have been there for. You know, maybe he was a bounty hunter or something. I don't know. But I mean, what we got wasn't too bad, depending on which version you prefer. I prefer the producer's cut. I mean, if you're going to go in with the goofiness of cults and ruins and stars aligning, star alignments, and like druid witchcraft, basically, go all in. Like, don't just dip your feet in the water and say he's the Man in Black, but we don't know. You know, he might be magical or, you know, affiliated with like a cult, maybe. Like, what even is? No, go all in, and they did. Oh, they did. And this, I think, Paul Rudd starred in this while he was filming Clueless. Never really gave much thought to Paul Rudd growing up, but you know, he's a pretty funny guy in everything that I've seen him in. The funniest stuff is oh man, I can't even think of their name. Adult Swim, Eric. I don't know. I forget. But Tim and Eric. That's right. I kept wanting to say Jim, but I was like, no, that's The Office. Tim and Eric show. And you know, he's really funny. I love his stuff on Conan O'Brien where he keeps showing Mac and Me all the time. But you know, in Halloween, he wasn't too bad. It could have been worse. But I'm putting Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, an all-timer because of the simple fact that this is the scariest Michael, in my opinion. The music, not so much. I really love the atmosphere, though, of Haddonfield, and it seems like this one, in this timeline, appears, aside from 4, to be like the most fallish looking one, because when they go to that party in the field and you've got that news anchor guy or radio DJ host or whatever, and you know, you can hear the crunchy leaves and everything. It just had a nice sound to it, and I appreciated that. All right, here we go. Halloween H2O. Now, I did see this one in theaters, and you got to remember, this is a time before the internet. That's how old I am. In terms of YouTube and people making video reviews, we had message boards, basically. And I remember after watching Halloween H2O, spoiler, Michael gets his head chopped off at the end of this one. But this is 20 years later, and I was like, man, that's it. That's the end of Michael Myers. Like, I had to know more. I had to know what other people thought, so I scoured the internet. I did find a message board. I believe the web address was a nightmareonelmstreet.com/Halloween/Halloween boards, if I remember correctly, because I went there like every day. And it was just like a big old pile of Halloween fans who were making threads and making new topics to talk about. And man, there was a lot of buzz when Halloween Resurrection was coming back, because everyone was like, whoa, how's he coming back? And like, is this going to be more like supernatural stuff? Because the title says Resurrection, so it was like Michael coming back to life, and he's going to be like Jason after Jason lives, and just like supernatural. But Halloween H2O, man, this was a big departure from the theme of a lot of the older ones. This one, you know, I forget the guy's name, Scott Williamson or something like that. The guy who also helped create Scream or write Scream. I just got off work. I'm a little tired, but this has definitely got a Scream feel to it, or like that early 2000s, late 90s, like Faculty type vibe. But yeah, I like this one too. My biggest gripe with this movie my biggest gripe, because this is a sequel to Halloween 2, right? Because he's still her brother. They're still siblings. He does not have scars on his hands. Like, he doesn't have any scarring visible. So the continuity is just like not there. And I remember seeing this in theaters, and I didn't notice it at first. Like, the intro mask that they used was like the same mold from Halloween 6. But I guess there was a lot of behind the scenes drama with what mask they wanted to use. And the scene where the CGI mask was used, I was like, what the fuck did I just see? Like, did I just have a stroke? What is this? And even in the commercial for it, it was the K&B mask or something. It was like the alien eye looking mask. And I was like, ooh, that mask looks kind of cool, like kind of futuristic. And I remember when they came face to face through that little porthole, that circular window, I always thought that it was going to be on a ship, because I just thought that that window being circular looked like a ship window. And the fact that it was called H2O, I thought might have, made sense to have water in there. But no, it was at a school. And we'll come back to H2O, but I'm going to put a fun to rewatch, because it is. I mean, I love LL Cool J in it. Don't know about the other characters besides Jamie Lee Curtis. Donald Pleasance passed away after Halloween 6, so he obviously wasn't going to reprise his role. But it's definitely a fun watch. It's not one that I would choose if I had all these other movies to pick. But if it was on TV or if it was on Hulu or something, I was like, I got nothing else going on. I'll pop it on. Oh boy. Oh, give me a second. Hold on. Need to hydrate my throat, because we're about to talk about a big pile of doo-doo. That is right. Halloween Resurrection. I'm just going to get that off of here so I don't have to, it's at the bottom. Wow. Where do I begin with this one? What could I say at this point that hasn't already been said by dozens, if not hundreds, of other Halloween fans here on YouTube? I love Busta Rhymes. Big fan of his music. Never bought any of his albums when I was a kid, because I was into Nas. That's a whole other story, but loved his music videos. I thought he was really funny, him and Ludacris. But Kung Fu kicking Michael Myers? I know this might sound weird, but like, Michael Myers was kind of my idol growing up. Like, he was my favorite of the bad guys. You had Freddy, you had Jason, Chucky, Pinhead. Michael was just like it. Michael was so scary. And to see him being karate kicked like he was nothing, and talked to like he was just another guy, it was hard to swallow. The story itself, garbage. Like, to see Laurie Strode the way she was in that movie, and then they kill her off a couple minutes in, and you were supposed to follow these like edgy, like, I don't even know. This movie it's the worst. I cannot stand it. I really wouldn't even consider it canon if it was up to me, but it's in doo-doo for sure. Oh, show. And I don't want to waste too much time talking about it, because there's a few other movies that I got to talk about. But Halloween, Rob Zombie, I remember in the early 2000s, there were reports of Rob Zombie making a reimagining of the Halloween franchise. And I don't have any way to prove it, but I do remember it was a reimagining. Rob Zombie's reimagining of Halloween. And what that means is basically he's going to start fresh. He's going to make something that hasn't been seen before, unless you've seen the other movies in Rob Zombie's directorial categories. Catalog, I mean. Oh my God, I'm messing up so much. Bear with me. But no, Rob Zombie's Halloween, I'm going to put fun to rewatch. I just watched it a couple months ago. I've got all of them on Blu-ray, and I was wanting to watch a scary movie Didn't feel like scrolling through Netflix, Hulu, whatever. And I was like, well, let me watch something. Definitely wasn't gonna watch Resurrection, no way. But I was like, hey, it's been a hot minute since I've seen Rob Zombie's Halloween. Let's pop it in. And does the Halloween franchise need a RAPE assault scene? No. Mm-mm. Does the Halloween franchise need to have like a thin line between hillbilly and inbred family messing up Michael Myers scene? No. Does it take anything away from the other movies that came before it? No, not at all. Does it make it any less of a Halloween movie? No, because it's a reimagining. I never understood why this movie got so much shit when it came out, because I wasn't a fan of his movies. That's not to say that I didn't like them, or I didn't hate them. But it was a very, you could tell the staples of a Rob Zombie movie without even knowing anything about Rob Zombie's music career, which I am a fan of. So it was interesting when this movie came out, because I was like, man, what are they gonna do that's gonna be so different? And for the most part, I mean, it's not really different. It's just a different take. They didn't try to explain why he was the way he was. They maybe implied it with his family and his whole family life, but man, I think her name is Scout Taylor Compton. Let me look that up real quick. Scout Taylor Compton. Okay. So it's Scout Taylor Compton. I actually prefer her as Laurie Strode more than I do Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, hear me out. I don't really relate to a 70s high school student wearing bell bottoms the same way I relate to someone more my age at the time when this movie came out. And I think she did a great job. It's more than just if I relate to her or not. As far as relatability goes, I'm a man, she's a woman, so I'm just saying. No, she did a really good job. I love Malcolm McDowell as Dr. Loomis. I thought he did a fantastic job. And his wife was in it, Sherry Moon Zombie. And every movie she's in, it's basically the same character, just a different name. Didn't really mind her too much. I felt really bad for her. I felt sad for her and the whole family except for the stepdad. This movie right here, there are no winners in this movie. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. At the end, like, there's a big fight and Laurie lives, and she shoots Michael in the head, or at least we think she shoots him in the head, but like, we don't know if Dr. Loomis is alive. And like, I feel for everybody. Michael, Laurie, Michael's mom, Dr. Loomis. I feel bad for everybody in this movie. There are no winners. At the end of the day, she may have triumphed over Michael Myers, but she didn't win. No. Really good movie. Doesn't deserve the shit that it did get, but because of the shit that it did get, we were given Halloween 2. I'm gonna put in could be worse. Well, you know what? Man, I don't know. Hold on, give me a second. I never knew this about Halloween 2 when it came out. I think it came out like 2008 or 2007. A big departure, a drastic departure from what we were given in Halloween. And I was just like, Rob Zombie's going fucking nuts. He's like trying to make the most depraved Halloween movie ever. And he maybe thought that he failed with Halloween. No. That's not the reason. He was basically given a big middle finger to the studio execs and to the fans who criticized Halloween, which is why he made Dr. Loomis a prick and Laurie a edgy whatever she was supposed to be. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot to talk about this. We'll put Halloween 2 in doo-doo, just because doo-doo. But no. Danielle Harris reprised, well, no, she didn't reprise her role, but she made a cameo as Laurie's friend in Halloween. Now, let me tell you, I thought she did a great job But the one thing that I did not like about it was the nudity of her in that movie. Hear me out. I'm not some white knight like, oh, women shouldn't show their boobs or anything like that. But for me, I grew up watching 4 and 5. So I was the same age as her. She, not when the movie was made, but when I was watching these, I was around her age. So I feel like I grew up with her, so to see her as an adult and as a different character, like it was fun to see her acting chops and everything, but then to see her naked, I was like, oh, it almost felt like I was accidentally seeing my sister naked, if that makes sense. And I thought it could have done without it, and nothing wrong with the scene. And like I said, this is just my opinion. But that's how it made me feel. Loved her coming back. I'm glad that she came back in Halloween 2. Unfortunately, what happened to her doesn't really help anything. But that's what I had to watch for quite a while. And then in 2018, they were like, "Hey, let's go ahead and reboot the trilogy, or reboot the franchise with the trilogy." And man, I was so pumped. I was so pumped for a new Halloween movie. And I didn't know anything about James Jude Courtney. He was the guy who plays Michael, and Laurie Strode was coming back. Was excited to find out, like, are they gonna keep her and him brother and sister? How is that gonna work? Because they already did that in H2O, and I, like, the biggest thing about this new trilogy is they were gonna retcon everything except for the original. So no more Hospital Michael, no more Cult of Thorn Michael, anything. H2O Resurrection, it didn't happen. Nope. And this, I believe, in my opinion, is where the biggest plot hole of this trilogy comes into play. Now, bear with me. Halloween 2018. I'm going to put fun to rewatch. Give me a second to rehydrate my throat. Halloween 2018, fun to rewatch. I love the mask. It's very true to the original. They did a great job with the aging effects and how to get it to look like how they would anticipate it to look 40 years later. There are a lot of ways in hindsight that I could make this story better, but for what we got, there was a lot of promise, and it was a great time to be a Halloween fan, I felt, and I was just so excited. It was a great movie, and the way it ended, there was talks about an alternate ending being originally made, and then the test filming, they were like, yeah, this isn't, I don't like it, no. So they made a new ending. I feel like the ending we got was really good. Left it on a ambiguous note. Is he going to burn in the fire? Is he going to escape? If he does escape, how is he going to escape? It reminded me of Halloween H2O, where he gets his head chopped off. It's like, oh my God, is that the end? Are they bringing him back? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Excuse me. And knowing that, they weren't sure if they were going to make a sequel or not, it all depended on Halloween 2018's success. It was very exciting to find out that Halloween Kills was the next one. Dude, can we talk about the trailer for a minute? I remember when the trailer for this movie dropped, and holy shit balls. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. The amount of hype surrounding this trailer, it's unimaginable. It really is. I know that's a very big word for such a small feeling, but like, it's the firefighter scene, Michael going on like up against all these firefighters. Now the thing with that is, like, Michael works in the shadows, he's rarely seen, and when he is seen, he kills, so like you never really see him in a public setting, or when you do, he's like unnoticed, no one detects him, they don't know who he is. So to see that trailer of him stepping out of that burning house and all these firefighters see him and they start fighting, oh man, that was intense. I must have watched that trailer like probably over 20 to 30 times. Like I just couldn't get enough of it. It was that good. I was that hooked. I didn't go see it in theaters. I rented it on Peacock. Well, I didn't rent it. I streamed it on Peacock. I subscribed, paid the subscription, and boy, I was let down. I was let down. This is going to be under could be worse. So, the script for Halloween Kills leaked, and it was a big deal because there hadn't been a big leak, I don't think, like that in a long time. And a lot of people were like, is this a real script? Is it just for publicity? Who knows? I read the script. Not top to bottom, left to right, like all of it, but I read like the beginning part and then I read the ending part. Because I didn't want to spoil the whole thing for me, but I was like, how does it end? You know, like that's what I want to know. Like, does he die? Like that was the biggest thing. And when I watched it with my then girlfriend, who is now my wife, on Peacock, we were so excited. We got like snacks. We sit down, turn on the lights off and everything. And yeah, the firefighter scene that was in Halloween Kills was literally the exact same thing that we saw in the trailer. And I could not believe it. I was like, that's it? That's literally what they showed in the trailer. There's no extra scenes or anything like that. Like a few extra seconds of him already killing someone that we saw him kill in the trailer. Like that's what we got. And I was like, oh boy. I was very pessimistic after that point. I'm not gonna lie. It felt like it was going downhill fast. And then the whole introduction of like legacy characters and like that awkward camera movement on them in slow motion and Michael C. Hall playing Tommy. It was I didn't really care for Halloween Kills at all. I was really let down because I felt like David Gordon Green and Danny McBride, and I don't know if Danny McBride was involved with the next two movies or not outside of Halloween 2018, but David Gordon Green, like I felt like he had so much potential that he teased us with in 2018, and then to let me down like that, to let us down or whatever, I was like, okay, he's not perfect, he's a human being, people can make mistakes, I'll give him that, and the script leaked. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, and then the ending happened and I was shocked because the ending happened almost the same way but not. Spoiler alerts once again, just be warned. Michael reappears in his house behind Karen, Laurie's daughter, and he kills her in like psycho fashion. And he just stands there looking out the window at maybe at his own reflection, breathing, and then boom, black credits roll. And I'm like, oh, that's how it ends? What? Like you cut out like an extra minute of Karen's phone ringing and him picking it up and Laurie being like, I'm coming for you. And then she walks through the hospital. Like why did you cut that out? Like what? And after that movie went off, I realized like, oh shit, we're in trouble. At least that's how I felt. I mean, you might have really loved Halloween Kills. I know I was really excited for all the different kills and just Michael being the most vicious he's ever been, and I was really excited, but like I could not get over the fact that like we saw like the entire firefighter scene in the trailer. They changed a few things. The most important thing that they changed was the ending, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is not good. I was hopeful still for Halloween Ends, but then Halloween Ends came out. Okay, look, Halloween Ends is not a bad horror movie. I like to think of it, let's say Halloween Ends is a story about someone else that's set in the Halloween universe, okay? That's kind of what it feels like. Because Corey, I really liked the movie. Don't get me wrong. I didn't know what to expect because I heard so much stuff from Jamie Lee Curtis and David Gordon Green and interviews. This was going to be a very divisive movie and it might make a lot of fans upset. And I think to a degree it made me upset, but at least it wasn't like Resurrection bad, I'm going to put at least they tried. That's what I'm going to do. As far as Michael Myers being supernatural or whatnot, it's still debatable, like when Corey lured that cop into the tunnel and Michael stabbed him and like started shaking. It was like you couldn't tell, like, is he regenerating? Is he getting stronger? What's going on here? Is like Corey is supposed to be like a supplier of bodies for him to like refill his energy with? The ending, wasn't bad, I guess. It's kind of nice because we never got to see a definitive, aside from Halloween H2O, but that was pulled under the rug from us. But this, in the ending of Halloween Ends, when, spoiler alert, Michael is delivered to the junkyard, he's put into an industrial grinder, and his body is basically turned into like hamburger. It was a very satisfying moment, but it was bittersweet. Like, okay, we finally get to see Michael like legit killed. Like, there's no way that was not him. He is done for. But at the same time, it's like, did he have to go out in this movie though? I mean, it didn't even feel like it was Michael's movie. And that's the best thing I can explain my feelings for Halloween Ends. But real quick, I want to talk about something with the David Gordon Green trilogy. And this is going to be a rant, I know. I'm going to do my best to make it very articulate and to the point, but I could not understand watching Halloween Ends. Something didn't sit right with me about Laurie Strode. And after thinking about it, I was driving at work. I was driving while working one day, and then a thought struck my mind, and I ran with it. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like seeing calculations and algebraic equations in my mind's eye, and I'm like, I figure it out. I understand it now. Oh my God, this makes so much sense. So remember in Halloween 2018, Laurie is a recluse. She's shut off from the rest of the world. She's an alcoholic, a survivalist, has a very turbulent relationship with her daughter and granddaughter, and is really known throughout town of Haddonfield as being just like almost as messed up as Michael Myers. Well, think about this, okay? In Halloween 1978, how much screen time did her and Michael Myers share? Up until the end of the movie, like, she was going about her life. She was babysitting, didn't even know the goings on across the street until like the last like 5 to 10 minutes, and she sees her friends are dead and she's being chased by someone in a mask, and he sneaks into her house. When she gets in and locks the door, she stabs him in the neck. He falls down, not dead, but maybe unconscious or something, or at least playing pretend possum. And then she stabs him with his own knife and like a coat hanger from the 70s. And Dr. Loomis saves the day. She maybe had, like I said, no more than 5-10 minutes of screen time with him. In that short amount of time, according to the story in Halloween 2018, he was captured at the end of Halloween and hauled off, taken away. He was captured by the police, where he stayed for the next 40 years. Now, I could see, the first couple years, maybe even 5 years. Okay. Can't really, stay at home alone because I'm afraid that he might escape and come get me. Maybe the first 10 years, I'm afraid to get close to people because all my friends died and I don't want that to happen again. He might escape. But then 15 and 20 years, he hasn't escaped. He's been in the same place the entire time. Meanwhile, you've got a family, a relationship, or bridges that you're trying to mend. He hasn't escaped. 30 and 40 years later. Now, hold on. Not just 30 or 35, but 40 years later, he is still not escaped. He is still in the same place. Hasn't spoken a word, hasn't escaped. You're telling me that in Halloween Ends, we see that Laurie, after the events of Halloween Kills and Halloween 2018, which Kills and Halloween 2018 are supposed to take place on the same night. You're telling me that in Halloween Ends, she's all of a sudden Susie Homemaker? Hold on. Throat's a little dry. So you're telling me Laurie's a recluse, gun nut, alcoholic. She's in fear every day for the last 40 years that Michael's going to escape. She literally prays every night that he escapes so she can kill him. And he does. He does escape. And her daughter's husband gets killed. A bunch of teenagers from around the community get killed. Police officers, nobody's safe. And Halloween Kills, he escapes after you think he came after you. And he kills a bunch of people. Like the whole Haddonfield Fire Department is gone. Most of the kids in the town are probably gone. Who knows? He's killed a lot of people, and the mob that went after him, and even, oh yeah, by the way, your daughter. He killed your daughter, and your granddaughter's boyfriend and her father, or his father. After all that trauma, she's gonna become Susie Homemaker and live with her granddaughter in Halloween Ends, where there are no guns, there are no traps, there are no plans set in motion in case he comes back. Dude, Michael at least got caught at the end of Halloween. You knew where he was for the last 40 years, locked away, not saying a word, in a mental institution, a very highly guarded mental institution from the looks of it, from Halloween 2018. But Halloween Kills ends. Ooh, say that a couple times fast. At the end of Halloween Kills, he disappears. He's been missing for the last 4 years. And you're telling me that you just move on with your life, go to the grocery store, help out the local Corey from getting assaulted by some marching band thugs, and you're writing a book? Like, what? You're telling me she spent the last 40 years in fear and ruining her daughter's relationship with her granddaughters, all these, like a marriage, and basically put her life in so much danger. She did more damage to herself than Michael did. But you're telling me she did all that in 40 years while Michael sat in a penitentiary or a sanitarium. And then at the end of his wild killing spree, he disappears. And then she's like, oh, man, really need to bake some pies and, get into the Halloween spirit. I cannot believe that. There's no way. That doesn't make any sense at all. I really feel that David Gordon Green lost all of his steam, didn't know what the fuck to do with the trilogy, and was just like, I gotta think of something. But I mean, I had so much hope in Halloween 2018 that he had so much heart and he was a fan of the Halloween franchise, but no, no, this doesn't make any sense. Sorry about that. I know that was kind of long, and my mind was trying to go in 3 or 4 different directions at the same time, but this is my list. Hello, all-timer. We have Halloween 4, and Halloween 6. Fun to rewatch. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, Halloween H2O, Rob Zombie's Halloween, and Halloween 2018. At least they tried. Was Halloween 5 and Halloween Ends. Like I said, not a bad movie. I know I just went off on a big old tangent of, plot holes and everything, but I liked it. I didn't think it was a bad movie. It was a good horror movie, but I would beg to differ if you wanted to say that it was it is a Halloween movie, but you know what I mean. Could be worse. Halloween 2, mainly because it was a product of a rushed, shady studio trying to milk the new phenomenon that was Michael Myers, The Shape, And this is where they started to give him a backstory that would later pollute all the other sequels after it. And Halloween Kills, you know, could have showed less in the trailer, could have stuck to your guns and didn't do like a 4-year time jump. I don't know what the hell that was all about, but I felt like they dropped the ball big time. But not as bad as Halloween Resurrection in the doo-doo category. And, you know, I mean, I understand why Rob Zombie did what he did, you know, but like as a director, like you got to take pride in your work. If you really cared about what you made with the original Halloween, this one right here, who gives a fuck what the critics or the studio says? Are you happy with what you made? Good. Then don't hurt the fans by turning, you know, beloved characters that you set up in your first movie into shitbags and pricks. Like, yeah, that sucks. You know, I really liked Malcolm McDowell, and I thought that it would be interesting to see how Laurie would react to, you know, shooting her own brother. Is he dead? You know, like there's just so much, you know, feelings of being let down. And, you know, clearly I'm not a movie writer. I'm a plumber. So, I mean, if I was able to share my ideas, no, I don't even think that they would give me $5 for my ideas. I mean, I could never come up with my own original Halloween story, you know, unless I sat down and thought about it. But then even then it's like, man, I know what I would like, but I understand, you know, if a studio is going to greenlight something, they are only doing that because they see money as the end result. So it was kind of like very punk of Rob Zombie to like come back and make another movie and be like, yeah, fuck you guys. But, you know, it is what it is. I would not watch this one. I hate that back. I would actually watch Halloween 2 before Resurrection. So we'll just switch them right there. I would definitely watch Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 before Resurrection. But if I had literally any other choice in life, I would do that rather than watch Halloween 2. So I think it's safe to say I will never watch Halloween Resurrection. Watched it a few times back when I was a younger kid and got very, very tired of it. I actually, hold on, funny story. I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but I actually downloaded this movie off of, I don't know if it was Morpheus or Kazaa, or it might have been LimeWire. I don't know. But I rented it, right? I rented it. That was horrible. And then I found a file that had the alternate endings as part of it, because like, I don't know what it was, but the copy that I rented from the video store was just a VHS, you know? So like there were no special features or whatnot. But to be able to see like alternate endings, I was like, I got to download it. So I did download it. I did pirate the movie. But I didn't keep it. You know, I just wanted to see what the alternate endings were that weren't available to me. And I didn't want to go out and buy this garbage just to never watch it. So, I don't know. Kind of paranoid now that the FBI might come after me. Wouldn't that suck? The one movie that I total disdain for in the Halloween franchise, that's what gets me arrested. Wow, that would be poetic and ironic and just beautiful. But yeah, that's my list. Feel free to agree or disagree. And if you do disagree, I encourage you to let me know in the comments below. What movie did I decide to put in what section? Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? Would you change anything? Definitely looking forward to knowing if there are any people who are watching this that are horror fans, how their list would look. And, you know, everything that I just talked about with this whole tier, I mean, I could talk for hours and hours about each individual movie and, you know, my thoughts on it, the background of it, what I would change, what I would do differently, all these different ideas about what could make that movie better or worse, depending on who you're talking to. So I definitely Thought this was going to be a lot harder to talk about all these movies and make a tier out of it, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. And I think this is a good looking list. I don't think there would be anything that I would change. I think I gave pretty good explanations on all of them. I'm sorry. I've never made a tier before, so I don't want to go into editing this and then be like, what was I thinking? Why would I do that? But no, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. So the next tier that I'm thinking about doing is for Friday the 13th. And we'll get into this when I make that video, but I actually think that Friday the 13th did a better job with their continuity and storylines than Halloween. That's the little teaser I'll give you. To a point, up to a certain chapter, let's say. And then after that, it was all downhill. Well, maybe not all downhill, but the continuity, the story, the timeline, it's a big old mess. And unfortunately, with shady studios and, you know, writers being from like Italy making Halloween 5, what the hell is the matter with them? there's a lot of good stuff in that Taking Shape book, and it's a really good read. So I would encourage you to read that as well if you haven't already. Yeah, this is it. This is how I would rank a Halloween franchise, from top to bottom. And your list is, I'm hoping, different, but it's been fun making this, and I hope I did a good job. I was so nervous. I haven't made a video in so long, and because this is kind of like a stream of consciousness type thing that I'm doing, I'm not sure when to stop. So I'll probably stop now. I got a lot of editing to do, and hopefully it won't be nearly as bad as I'm hoping it's not, but we'll see. All right. Well, I really enjoyed making this, and I hope that you guys had fun watching this too. And like I said, I encourage you to let me know in the comments if you are a horror movie fan and you are a fan of the Halloween franchise. Was there anything you disagree with? Anything you would change? What's your list look like? And yeah, definitely let me know. I'm really excited to find out what your list would look like. Got a lot of editing to do. So that's going to be it for today's video. I had a lot of fun making this, and I'm really excited to make another video. I will definitely make another tier. This was really fun, and it gives me an opportunity to really reflect on movies that I might not have seen in a long time. And yeah, if my list looks different than yours, definitely let me know in the comments. What would you change? What movies that I might hold up high are on your do-do list? And let's see, you know, where our differences are, and, you know, let's learn from each other. So with all that out of the way, this has been Tom 3PO. You take care.